Yes, I have less than 100 subscribers after being on YouTube for 5 months. And let's see, how do I feel about that? Honestly, I don't really know, but I'm going to figure that out in this video. I'm also going to go over my workflow, how I manage to stay consistent, the struggles that I deal with, and the perks or potential perks of having a YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome to Keep the Flow. I'm Scott McLemore, a drummer and composer living way up north in Iceland. I've toured throughout the US, Canada, and Europe, released 5 albums of my own music, and I've been involved in various creative pursuits, like working in graphic design and writing about creativity. In these episodes, I look under the hood of the creative process to keep our creative engines humming. But as far as how I feel about having less than 100 subscribers after 5 months of being on YouTube, I don't really have any point of reference. I mean, I didn't expect to get 1 million subscribers overnight or even after 5 months, but I don't really know what I should be shooting for, if anything. Keep the Flow is firstly a podcast, and the reception of the podcast has been wonderful, I think. It's actually much harder to measure podcast listeners, but some of my videos on YouTube have also gotten some traction. But the thing is, I have no idea why. I mean, it seems completely random to me. For instance, my most viewed video on YouTube by far is one that I recorded in my dad's guest room when I was visiting this summer. And it's just me talking in front of his closet doors as a backdrop. And the thumbnail image is just a still frame from the video with the words, "What got you here won't get you there." So I just feel like I really just never know what's going to appeal to viewers. And I'm trying to be zen about it and just not care, but it's hard not to notice. And I suppose I could study and analyze the data to figure out how to replicate it, but that's not really why I started Keep the Flow. I'm a jazz musician, which means that I chose a path in life which is not financially lucrative. There are much easier ways to make money. So my default setting is to be creative regardless of the financial reward. But as far as Keep the Flow is concerned, a big part of my reward is helping others. When I get comments from people who resonated with something I was talking about, that's incredibly rewarding to me. From the beginning, I really just wanted to get my ideas out there in the hopes that it might help other creative people. And let's just pause here for a moment, because I don't want to give the impression that I'm some selfless saint who's only concerned with helping people. I mean, I would love to be that guy, but I know myself well enough to know that that's not entirely accurate. The reality is, I'm putting a lot of effort into this thing. And the deeper that I got into the podcast and video space, I started to realize how it might be potentially beneficial to me. I think for a while I tried to ignore it, but I can't deny that as a musician who's putting out his own music, it certainly helps to have more people becoming aware of me. But I also recognize that the people that are listening to the podcast or watching the YouTube channel are not necessarily the people who are just going to like my music. I mean, there's bound to be some overlap there, but even if it's just the curious types who would look me up on their favorite streaming service, if they listen to 30 seconds of a track, that's helpful to me. That being said, as soon as I started uploading my own videos, my YouTube homepage started filling up with videos about how to grow your channel or how to 10x your subscribers or how to get monetized. So I became aware of that side of YouTube really quickly. And it's a lot. I mean, there's a seemingly endless supply of people making videos about making videos on YouTube. Actually, it was really helpful because in the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. So hopefully, this will be helpful to you if you're just starting out here or if you're thinking about it. My workflow has changed quite a bit since I started, and I won't go into all the different incarnations of that, but what I arrived at and what I try to maintain is working on 3 episodes at a time. Right now, 3 feels like a doable number to me, and I've heard other content creators like Ali Abdaal recommending content creation in batches, and they usually talk about doing like 5 episodes at a time. To me, that just feels like too much. Maybe in the future. So I do my writing in Craft, which is a great app that I use for a lot of other things. I tried a ton of note-taking apps, and this one seems to fit me the best. It's just really comfortable to use, especially on the iPad and the Mac. And then last month, I started using Airtable to keep track of the status of the episodes that I'm working on. I use their Kanban view to easily move something from planning to on deck, which tells me then which ones are ready to record. And I use a deep link from Craft to be able to quickly go directly to the episode I'm working on in Craft from Airtable. Okay, some of you might be wondering why I don't just use Notion to do all of this. And that's a good question. But actually, I tried Notion and I think it's a great app, but I do a lot of writing on the iPad, and Notion on the iPad to me just seemed a little awkward and a bit clunky. And there were some other reasons, but that was the big one. So once I have 3 episodes on deck in Airtable, I come in here to set up to record. I use my iPhone 13 Pro for video and the Rode PodMic USB going into Adobe Audition on my Mac to record the audio. I won't go into all the gear, but I'll list it in the description if you're interested. I try to record these 3 episodes back to back, and I'm pretty new to this method, but I really like the efficiency of it. Once I have everything set up and I get into the flow, it becomes much easier. I mean, the first episode takes the longest, but by the end of the third, I feel like I could just keep going. But then I have 3 episodes recorded, and again, the first one is going to take the most time to edit, but the last 2 are pretty simple. Okay, but the biggest change I made is how I edit. And first of all, Keep the Flow started off as a podcast, so I was in the habit of editing the audio in Adobe Audition. But then when I started making videos, I realized that some of the things that worked in the audio version didn't work in the video version, or vice versa. So like an idiot, I would edit the audio version first in Adobe Audition and then go to Premiere Pro and edit the video version from scratch. And this is when I was making episodes that were 20 plus minutes long. But now I'm doing the basic audio stuff like EQ and compression in Adobe Audition and then importing that into Premiere Pro and editing the whole thing there. Then I duplicate the edit that I made for the video and I make minor adjustments to the audio version and I export both of them from Premiere Pro. This saves me a ton of time. The other thing that I almost skipped over is that I'm making shorter episodes now. That on its own is a huge time saver. And every step of the process is shorter. The writing, the recording, the editing, even the uploading is quicker. Once I get everything recorded and edited, I usually use a still frame from the video as a thumbnail. I take that into Adobe Illustrator and put some text on it. And that and the title are crucially important. I'm not an expert, but I know enough to know that that has a huge impact on whether people watch your video or not. I also embed tags in the video file and the thumbnail image, which I heard somewhere helps with coming up in search results. I have no idea if that's true, but I figure it won't hurt. And as far as being consistent, I really struggled with that for a long time. And I enjoy making these episodes, but feeling like I was falling behind and having other things going on in my life, this just felt like another thing hanging over me. So doing the 3 episodes at once has really helped with this. I mean, it made me more efficient, but it also creates this buffer where I'm not freaking out every week trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do next. So when I look back at all this, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. And so, yes, I hope some good comes from it. I hope it helps someone, and I hope it helps me somehow. Honestly, making the episodes feels therapeutic to me. So it is helpful in that regard. Just getting my ideas out into the world feels like I've checked off the biggest box on my existential to-do list. So, with all that said, if I try to answer the question now, how do I feel about having less than 100 subscribers? Actually, it's 99 as as I'm recording this. I feel fine. I feel good. Like I said at the beginning, I had no expectations when I started, but the idea that even one person would want to subscribe and hear what I have to say is amazing to me. I just want to say thank you. If you're a subscriber, or even if you're not a subscriber, if you've made it this far in the video, I hope part of it was at least helpful to you. And if you feel like subscribing now, that would be great. That's all I've got for today. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, keep the flow.